My name is Clarissa Monroe. I was once an unknown artist, a single mother, and the woman who walked away from the man I loved most while carrying his child, and he never even knew. I left in silence until the day our daughter needed a bone marrow transplant to survive. And the only person who could save her was the father she'd never met.
Before I share my story, comment below and let me know where you're watching from. And if you've ever gone through something difficult because of family, hit the like button and subscribe.
The conference room smelled like burnt coffee and ambition. I sat in the corner, my charcoal-stained fingers working across the paper, capturing the speaker's gestures as he explained neural pathways. Medical illustration wasn't glamorous work, but it paid the bills, and after drifting from Savannah to San Francisco with nothing but a backpack and my art supplies, I needed those bills paid. "You're drawing him wrong," the voice came from behind me, warm with amusement. I turned to find a man in scrubs, his dark eyes fixed on my sketch. "Excuse me?" "Dr. Morrison always touches his left ear when he's lying. You missed that." He smiled, and something in my chest shifted. "Adrian Blake, neurosurgeon. Clarissa Monroe, artist who apparently can't spot liars." He laughed, a sound that seemed too genuine for a room full of networking doctors. "Want to grab real coffee? This stuff might actually be hazardous." That's how it started. Over overpriced lattes and my confession that I'd survived a car accident 3 years prior. One that left me with scars hidden beneath long sleeves and a fear of losing control that woke me at 3 a.m. most nights. He didn't flinch. Instead, he rolled up his own sleeve, showing a surgical scar. "Tried to operate on myself once. Med school bet?" His grin was sheepish. Turns out, even future neurosurgeons can be idiots. By the time the conference ended, we'd talked for 6 hours. About art, about medicine, about the way people reveal themselves in tiny gestures. He saw the world in synapses and surgical precision. I saw it in shadows and light. Somehow, it worked. 2 weeks later, he called at midnight. "I'm at Half Moon Bay. It's raining. I brought terrible wine and a blanket that probably has sand fleas." I should have said no. Instead, I drove 40 minutes through sheets of rain to find him standing on the beach, soaked through, holding a bottle of grocery store Merlot like it was champagne. "This is insane," I said, but I was already laughing. "I know." He pulled me under his umbrella, which immediately flipped inside out. "I've been thinking about how you see inside people. Through your art. I need someone who can do that. See me." The rain plastered our clothes to our skin. The wine was terrible. We drank it anyway, passing the bottle between us while the ocean roared its approval. When he kissed me, he tasted like cheap Merlot and possibility. "I should warn you," I said against his lips, "I don't do things halfway." "Good." His hands framed my face like I was something precious. Neither do I. We married 8 months later in Big Sur, just us, a justice of the peace, and the redwoods as witnesses. Adrian wore jeans and the lab coat I'd painted him in. I wore my grandmother's dress, tea-stained and perfect. No guests, no fuss, just promises made while the fog rolled in. "You know what you're getting into?" I asked as he slipped the ring on my finger. "Charcoal dust on everything, paintings taking over the apartment, me talking to brushes at 3 a.m. "You know what you're getting into?" he countered. "Call schedules, me coming home covered in other people's problems, terrible doctor handwriting." "I can read your handwriting." "Liar." But he was smiling. That particular smile I'd already learned meant everything was exactly right. Our first year was magic disguised as ordinary life. Adrian would come home from 18-hour surgeries and find me painting in our tiny living room, Wagner playing because I'd discovered it helped me capture the drama of the human form. He'd collapse on the couch, still in scrubs, and tell me about the lives he'd held in his hands while I painted. "Show me," I'd say, and he'd take my hand, guiding it over his own skull, showing me where he'd made incisions, saved lives, performed miracles I translated into art. I started the Hands That Heal collection that year, portraits of surgeons' hands. Not idealized, but real. Adrian's hands with their calluses from gripping instruments too long. His colleague Maria's hands, steady despite the arthritis creeping into her joints. The young resident whose hand shook until he touched a scalpel. Adrian built me a studio in our spare room, spending his one free weekend installing lights that wouldn't strain my eyes. "You need proper space," he said, like it was obvious. "Your art matters." We were happy. God, we were happy. I'd wake up to find him studying my paintings, really looking at them the way he looked at brain scans, searching for meaning, for truth. "This one," he said once, pointing to a portrait of an elderly surgeon. You can see his exhaustion, but also pride? 30 years of saving lives, I said. It weighs on you, but it's a weight you choose. He pulled me close. You see everything. Not everything. I kissed his temple. I never saw you coming. We talked about children during those golden months. Adrian had spreadsheets, of course he did, planning optimal timing around his career trajectory. I had dreams of teaching small hands to hold brushes, of raising someone who could see both art and science in the world. Can you imagine? He said one night, his hand on my still flat stomach. Our kid could paint neural pathways, or perform surgery with an artist's precision. Or they could be a chef, I teased, or a dancer, or anything they want. Anything they want, he agreed, and I believed him. The twist came 3 months later. A miscarriage that left me bleeding on our bathroom floor while Adrian was in surgery. By the time he came home, I'd already cleaned everything up, erased the evidence except for the hollow in my chest. Clarissa? He found me in the studio, painting with aggressive strokes. What's wrong? I couldn't tell him. Not when he looked at problems like puzzles to solve. Not when I knew he'd turn my grief into a medical event, something to diagnose and fix. Just a bad day, I lied, and kept painting. Everything changed when the venture capitalists came calling. $50 million for Adrian's biotech startup, a revolutionary approach to neural implants. He came home that night vibrating with energy I'd never seen before, talking fast about valuations and board positions and changing the world. We did it, he kept saying. We actually did it. But we started meaning him and his investors, him and his board, him and anyone who wasn't me. The man who used to study my paintings now walked past them. Dinner conversations became monologues about market penetration and FDA approvals. When I tried to share news about my gallery opening, he'd nod absently, already checking his phone. Could you not paint so late? He asked one night. The light disturbs my sleep and I have a board meeting tomorrow. Since when does my painting light bother you? Since I need to be sharp. This is important, Clarissa. And my work isn't? He sighed like I was being a child. Your hobby is lovely, but I'm trying to save lives here. Hobby. The word landed like a scalpel, precise and cutting. I started painting in the bathroom after he fell asleep, sitting in the tub with my sketch pad, trying to capture the way love changes shape. The paintings grew darker. Where once I'd painted healing hands, now I painted hands letting go. The control started small. Comments about my emotional art. Suggestions that I network with doctors' wives instead of other artists. Questions about every expense, despite our healthy bank account. You spent how much on canvas? The same amount I've spent for 3 years, Adrian. We need to think bigger picture now. Investments, returns. Since when is art about returns? Since we're building a future. His tone was patient, like he was explaining surgery to a child. You can't live in abstract concepts forever. One night, I found him in my studio, reorganizing my supplies. What are you doing? Maximizing efficiency. You waste so much time looking for things. I know where everything is. No, you think you do. There's a difference. I watched him label boxes, categorize brushes, turn my creative chaos into his sterile order. When he finished, he looked so proud. Better, right? I nodded, mute. After he left, I sat in my organized studio and couldn't paint. Everything was in its place except me. The second miscarriage happened during a fundraising gala. I felt the familiar cramping, excused myself to the bathroom, and bled out another possibility while Adrian charmed investors in the ballroom. This time, I didn't even consider telling him. What was the point? He'd want tests, solutions, action plans. He wouldn't want to just sit with me in the grief. You're pale, he noticed later, as we drove home. Are you coming down with something? Maybe. Take vitamin C. Can't have you sick for the Johnson dinner next week. I turned to the window, watching city lights blur past. Right, can't have that. The final fight came 3 months later. I'd painted something raw, a self-portrait where my chest was cracked open, revealing a tangle of roots where my heart should be. Adrian found it while I was at the grocery store. What is this? He held the canvas like evidence. It's how I feel. It's disturbing. What if investors see this? They'll think you're unstable. I don't paint for your investors. You paint our life? Our private life? His face was red, unfamiliar. Everything can't be material for your art, Clarissa. Then what can I be? I was so tired. What part of my life is actually mine? The part that isn't destroying everything I'm building? Silence. You paint pain, he said finally, quieter. But I'm the one carrying the weight of the world. I left that night. Portland welcomed me with rain and anonymity. I rented a studio apartment above a coffee shop, the walls thin enough to hear espresso machines at 5 a.m. Perfect white noise for the insomnia that followed me north. 2 weeks after arriving, I threw up in a Whole Foods bathroom. The pregnancy test confirmed what my body already knew. Life was stubborn, even when everything else fell apart. I sat on my apartment floor, test in hand, and laughed until I cried. Or cried until I laughed. After 2 miscarriages, my body decided now was the time. When I was alone, broke, living above coffee steam and regret. Okay, I whispered to the barely there life inside me. Okay, we'll figure this out. I didn't call Adrian. How could I? He'd want custody arrangements, prenatal optimization, probably a PowerPoint about co-parenting efficiency. He'd turn our child into a project, the way he'd turned me into a problem to solve. Instead, I built a life from scratch, found a job teaching art to kids at the community center, painted portraits on weekends for tourist money, learned to navigate pregnancy alone, the morning sickness that lasted all day, the swollen feet, the kicks that came at 3 a.m. like clockwork. My mother appeared at my door when I was 7 months along. I hadn't seen her since she'd left when I was 12, chasing a man to Phoenix and leaving me with my grandmother. I heard, she said simply, through cousins. Figured you might need something. I don't need anything from you. I know. She stood there, gray now, where she'd been blonde, holding a casserole dish like a peace offering. But maybe I need something from you. A chance to not fuck up being a grandmother like I did being a mother. I let her in. What else could I do? Pride felt like luxury I couldn't afford. Eden arrived during a December ice storm, screaming and perfect. The nurse placed her on my chest, and I understood immediately why I'd kept painting through everything. This fierce, impossible love was what I'd been trying to capture all along. Just you and me, kid, I whispered. We'll be enough. My mother stayed for 2 weeks, cooking and cleaning while I learned Eden's rhythms. She didn't try to explain or apologize for the past, just showed up day after day until showing up became its own apology. I painted during Eden's naps, quick watercolors of her sleeping face, the curve of her fist around my finger. Started a series called The Quiet Inheritance. All the things we pass down without meaning to. My grandmother's stubborn chin on Eden's face. My mother's hands, finally steady, bathing her granddaughter. My own eyes, wide with wonder and terror, reflected in my baby's gaze. The community center let me bring Eden to classes. My students, kids from 6 to 16, took turns holding her while I demonstrated techniques. She grew up surrounded by art and chaos, finger painting before she could walk. "Mama paint" became her first full sentence. I built us a life, small, messy, but ours. Eden's toys mixed with my art supplies, crayon on the walls beside my watercolors. We were broke but whole, 2 against the world. I told myself I didn't miss Adrian. But sometimes, watching Eden sleep, I'd wonder if she had his hands, if she'd inherit his need to fix things or my need to feel them. "We're doing okay," I'd whisper. "We're doing just fine." Most nights, I even believed it. Eden was 3 when the bruises started. Just a few at first. Purple blooms on her legs I attributed to toddler clumsiness. But they multiplied, appeared in places she couldn't have bumped. Then came the fatigue. My energetic daughter suddenly content to lie on the couch, listless. "Just a virus," the first doctor said. "Growing pains," said the second. The third ordered blood work. I held Eden as they drew vial after vial, her tiny body rigid with fear. "Brave girl," I whispered. "Mama's brave girl." Dr. Chen called me into her office 3 days later. Eden coloring in the waiting room with my mother. "Aplastic anemia," she said gently. "Her bone marrow isn't producing enough blood cells." The room tilted. "Treatment?" "Bone marrow transplant. We'll test you first, of course, but siblings and parents are often the best matches. Does Eden have any siblings? Is her father available for testing?" Her father, who didn't know she existed, who was probably optimizing someone else's life by now. It's complicated, I managed. I understand. But if there's any way to contact him. I sat in my car for an hour, Eden and my mother waiting inside, staring at Adrian's contact in my phone. 3 years of silence. 3 years of protecting us both. My fingers shook as I typed. This is Clarissa. I need to tell you something. Please call me. He called within minutes. Clarissa, Jesus, are you okay? I have a daughter. The words tumbled out gracelessly. She's 3. She's yours. And she's sick. Silence so long I thought he'd hung up. A daughter, he said finally. 3 years old. Eden. Her name is Eden. She needs a bone marrow transplant, and I don't match well enough. I wouldn't call if... Where are you? Portland, Legacy Children's Hospital. I'll be there in 3 hours. Adrian, wait. You should know. There's more. What more could there be? His laugh was hollow. I have a daughter I've never met who needs my bone marrow. What else matters? You're engaged to Mira. Another silence. Mira, my best friend from art school. Of course. They'd always gotten along at dinner parties, bonding over wine while I talked to other artists. It made horrible sense. I'll be there in 3 hours, he repeated and hung up. I walked back into the hospital on legs that felt disconnected from my body. Eden ran to me, pigtails bouncing. Mama, I drew you! The picture showed 2 stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. No father figure. Never a father figure in her drawings. It's beautiful, baby. My mother caught my eye. You called him? I nodded. Good. She pulled Eden onto her lap. Sometimes we have to break our own hearts to save theirs. 3 hours and 17 minutes later, Adrian walked through the hospital doors. Older now, silver threading through his hair, but still carrying himself like a man who fixed impossible things. He stopped dead when he saw Eden. She was coloring again, tongue poking out in concentration. His concentration face, I realized with a pang. His eyes, his stubborn chin, my wild hair. God, he breathed. She's perfect, I finished. She's perfect, and she's sick. And I'm sorry, but I need you to save her. Eden looked up at the stranger studying her. You're tall, she announced. Want to color? Adrian's composure cracked. Yes, he said roughly. Yes, I want to color. Watching them together, my greatest secret and my deepest regret, I wondered if I'd made the right choice, keeping them apart. Too late now. The dominoes were falling. Adrian's test results came back as a near-perfect match. Of course they did. Even in this, he had to be exceptional. We'll need to do the harvest in 2 weeks, Dr. Chen explained. I'll want Adrian here for prep starting Monday. I'll clear my schedule, Adrian said immediately. All business, vintage Adrian. Then quieter. Whatever she needs. We fell into an awkward rhythm. Adrian at the hospital every day, reading medical journals to Eden while she played with his stethoscope. Me hovering, protective, and unnecessary. My mother bringing food nobody ate. Mira appeared on day 3. You look good, she said, standing in my daughter's hospital room like she belonged there. Diamond ring catching the light. Motherhood suits you. Mira. 3 years, Clarissa. 3 years of him wondering what he did wrong. And you had his child? I had my child. Don't. Her composure slipped. Don't pretend this was noble. You stole his chance to be a father. Eden stirred in her bed. Mama? I'm here, baby. I smoothed her hair, ignoring Mira. Just talking to an old friend? Is she nice? I looked at Mira, successful, polished, wearing my life like it fit her better. She used to be. Adrian found me in the cafeteria that night, stress-eating vending machine cookies. Those'll kill you, he said, sitting across from me. Faster than bone marrow failure? Clarissa, don't. I pushed the cookies away. Just don't. I know what you're going to say. I stole 3 years. I'm selfish. You're scared. His voice was gentle. You've been scared and alone and raising our daughter, and I wasn't there. You would have turned her into a project, optimized her sleep schedule, made spreadsheets for her developmental milestones. Probably. He almost smiled. Is that why you left? The spreadsheets? You know why I left. I know why you said you left. But you were pregnant. You were pregnant and you didn't tell me. I'd already lost 2. Didn't see the point in telling you about a 3rd. His face went white. 2? And there it was. The truth I'd painted around but never spoken. 2 miscarriages, one while you were in surgery, one at your fundraising gala. You never noticed? Clarissa, you were saving the world. I was just bleeding in bathrooms. He reached for my hand. I let him take it. I'm sorry, he said. God, I'm so sorry. I got so caught up in success I forgot. I forgot you were my success, you and the family we were building. We're not a family anymore, Adrian. Aren't we? He looked exhausted suddenly. We have a daughter, a beautiful, sick daughter who colors like you and problem solves like me. If that's not family, you're marrying Mira. Mira's safe. The admission came out raw. She doesn't paint my failures, doesn't see through me, doesn't make you feel. I was going to say, doesn't make me feel everything at once. He squeezed my hand. But yours works too. Eden called for me then, saving us both from whatever came next. But as I walked away, I heard him whisper, I would have wanted to know, even about the ones we lost. I would have wanted to grieve with you. Maybe he would have. But we'd never know now. The morning of the transplant, Eden wore her favorite butterfly dress over her hospital gown. Pretty for my new insides, she announced. Adrian laughed, really laughed, for the first time since arriving. That's exactly right, little artist. She'd started calling him Dr. Adrian, which he pretended didn't bother him. But I caught him teaching her to say Papa when he thought I wasn't listening. The harvest went smoothly. Adrian, post-procedure, and loopy from sedation, kept trying to explain the process to Eden through the window. My special soldiers are going to march into your bones, he slurred. Make new blood castles. Silly, Eden giggled. Then, to me, Mama, is Dr. Adrian my daddy? The question I dreaded, asked so simply. Yes, baby, he is. She considered this. Okay, but he can't take my red markers. Those are mine. Deal, Adrian said, still drugged. Your markers are sacred. Mira had disappeared after our cafeteria confrontation. Adrian's phone buzzed constantly. Her, I assumed, but he never answered. Not during Eden's prep. Not during the agonizing wait while they infused his marrow into our daughter. Not during the endless hours after, watching for signs of rejection or acceptance. My mother brought him coffee, mothering him the way she'd learned to mother me, quietly, without expectation. She gets her stubbornness from you, she told him. Won't be pushed around by some bone marrow. Clarissa's stubborn too, he defended. Oh, I know. Where do you think she got it? We existed in a bubble, the four of us taking shifts, watching Eden fight. Her body, so small in the hospital bed, working to accept this gift from the father she'd just met. On day 3, her white cell count started climbing. It's working, Dr. Chen confirmed. Slowly, but working, Adrian cried, stood in the hallway and sobbed like I'd never seen. Not composed, controlled Adrian. Just a father, grateful and guilty and everything in between. I've missed everything, he said when he could speak. First words, first steps, first painting. She painted you? I admitted. Before she met you, abstract, but I knew. Purple hands like surgical gloves. She'd see them on TV and paint purple hands. He broke again. That night, while Eden slept, we sat on opposite sides of her bed, watching her breathe. I quit the board, he said suddenly. Yesterday. Sent my resignation from the bathroom. Adrian, I'm done choosing wrong, done prioritizing things that don't matter. He touched Eden's hand, feather light. I want to teach. Maybe part-time practice. I want... What? Time. I want time I already lost. Eden stirred, opened those eyes that were so much his. Papa? He froze. I held my breath. Papa's here, he whispered. Papa's right here. She smiled and drifted back to sleep, one hand reaching for him, the other for me. We sat there, connected by our daughter, pretending the tears on our faces were just exhaustion. Thank you, he said as dawn broke. For calling, for letting me. Thank you. She needed you. What about you? His voice was careful. What do you need? I looked at our daughter, improving by the hour, fighting with everything she had. I need her to live. Everything else. We'll figure out everything else later. He nodded. Together? As her parents? Yes, together. It wasn't a promise of reconciliation, wasn't forgiveness or forgetting, but it was a start. Eden's counts kept climbing. 6 months later, I stood in my Portland gallery, watching people mill through the missing color exhibition. Eden, healthy now with energy to spare, wore a tiny opening nightdress and played gallery assistant, offering people juice boxes instead of wine. "This one's my mama's favorite," she told a collector, pointing to the centerpiece, a massive canvas of hands. Adrian's hands, painted from memory, holding something invisible and precious. "What's he holding?" the woman asked. "Hope," Eden said matter-of-factly. "Mama says hope is invisible but heavy." Adrian appeared beside me, part-time teacher now, full-time father learning on the job. We weren't together, not like that. We shared dinners, bedtime stories, doctor appointments. We were something new. Not lovers, not strangers, but two people raising light in a world that had gone dark. "She's selling your work better than any dealer," he murmured. "She's your daughter, too, natural salesperson." "Hey, I've never sold anyone on anything. You sold me on forever once." The words hung between us, complicated and true. Mira had moved to Boston, taking a position at Mass General. She'd sent Eden a birthday present, watercolors and a note that said simply, "Paint the world bright." Maybe that was her version of letting go. "The purple hands," Adrian said, studying the painting Eden had pointed out. "She really painted me before she knew me?" Kids see things, even invisible fathers. My mother approached with Eden on her hip. "Someone needs to give her speech." Eden had insisted on saying something, practicing in the mirror for days. I lifted her onto a small platform we'd set up. "Hi," she said to the crowd. "My mama painted all these when she was sad. But then she got happy again. Because that's what paint does. It makes sad into colors." People smiled, charmed. But Eden wasn't finished. "My papa gave me his bones so I could stay. My grandma makes cookies, and mama shows me how to see inside things." She looked at me. "Now we're a family puzzle with all the pieces." There wasn't a dry eye in the gallery. Later, after the crowds left and Eden crashed from excitement, Adrian and I cleaned up together. Easy rhythm, like we'd been doing this forever. "She's right, you know," he said, "about the puzzle pieces. We're a strange puzzle. Best ones always are." He paused. "I'm seeing someone, a teacher at the school. Thought you should know." My chest squeezed, but not with jealousy. Just adjustment. "Is she good to Eden?" "She hasn't met Eden yet. Wanted to talk to you first." "Oh, yeah." He folded chairs, precise as surgery. "We're doing this backwards, aren't we? Most people date, marry, have kids, divorce. What did we do? Loved, lost, made life, found each other again?" I smiled. "Our own rhythm." He smiled back. "I like our rhythm." Eden called out from her makeshift bed in the back office. "Mama, Papa, story!" We went to her, settling on either side. She'd chosen the book. One about butterflies, of course. "Sometimes," I read, "butterflies have to break apart completely before they can fly." Eden yawned. "Like us?" "Yeah, baby," Adrian said softly. "Exactly like us." She fell asleep between us, small and perfect and alive. Our butterfly, rebuilt from broken wings.
Sometimes, life breaks us apart so it can teach us how to rebuild. Stronger, wiser, and with the right people by our side. If this story touched you, take a moment to reflect. Who do you need to forgive? And what pieces of your life are ready to come together again? Share your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if this made you feel something. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that remind us, even from brokenness, beauty can rise.